Welcome to the Lights Camera Pro podcast, where we interview entertainment pros about their careers and how they became successful in the industry. The secrets to their success here every week. Here's your host, Sean Ventura.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Lights Camera Pro podcast. I'm your host, Sean Ventura, and I just want to say go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and subscribe, rate, and review. I just wanted to mention that this audio podcast was originally a Facebook Live. This is my first time recording 4 people live. There was static in the background, but I think we got most of it fixed and it should be fine, just so you know. Our guest today is some guys with a camera. There's 3 guys from Liverpool, England. They've made 8 short films and they're only 17 and 18 years old. They've got a lot of great stories. They've already won some awards. It's going to be fun. These guys are awesome. Here we go. I saw your short films, and we're going to talk about 3 of them today, and I'll bring up a little poster for them when we talk about them. Blackbird, Shopping Bag Number 2, and Life in Lyrics. And they're all very cool. I have actually made 4 short films myself, and it's so much fun.
Anyway.
Sorry?
Are they online anywhere?
I've got on my Lights Camera Pro YouTube channel, I have Ramona, which is the latest one about a online date gone bad. And the woman's drinking a lot. She ends up throwing up on me and stuff. But I had to act in it because the actor dropped out. It's a long story. But yeah, that's the only one I have up online. I had a couple other ones that were in different places that have disappeared. But I want to put them all up again. But yeah, I've done theater. I've done a bunch of different things and was a video editor for 25 years. And now I'm doing podcasts. So life is crazy, man. So why don't you guys, I don't know how you want to do this. Let's just, why don't you tell us who's the Matthew directs and writes. I'm sorry, John. Matthew also co-directs is what I understand. And then Conor stars in the movies. Let's just start with John. And what do you do with your film collective, if I can call you guys that?
We mainly all contribute ideas. So we basically work on everything, but Matthew usually directs. I usually help him write and help him direct on the set sometimes, and Conor usually writes as well, but we all contribute to the ideas and the films that we're going to create. So often what happens is I'll come up with an idea and then Matthew will expand on it and then Conor will add in his own bits. And then when we're writing it as well, we'll all contribute at the same time. So everything that we've done is our own collective vision. So everyone is putting our own ideas to make the whole thing. So Conor, you were the star of a bunch of these movies, and I actually just saw you get killed by, I think, John with a blonde wig on. Is that true?
It was that happened in Shopping Bag 2.
Yeah, Shopping Bag 2, that happens. That actually happens. So were you acting before you met these guys, or were they just like, come on, you're a buddy, get in front of the camera?
No, I've always been like doing like some amateur stuff. So obviously from a very young age, I was starring in different local projects and such things. But I think when we all met was in 2017, a local cinema in Liverpool, where we're based. They were running like a community type project. And I went there as an interested actor and filmmaker. And that's where us 3 met. And I think obviously in our first, obviously Matthew had made films before, but our first film as a unit, the first proper Some Guys with a Camera film, that was the first Shopping Bag. Originally I wasn't the lead role. That was another actor, Harvey Privis, but his role was cut and his film was re-edited, and so I essentially ended up being the star by accident, and then not even intentionally, just a lot of the films I've been in as the one of the lead roles or the lead role, because I would.
Very cool. And John, would you say that, and I know this is probably, you guys can all answer this, but would you say like you just have a passion for making films? Because how many films have you made? Like 10, 12, 15 films?
I think we've made about probably 8. All of them have different lengths, and some of them are like smaller, like couple of minute films, and some of them are really big projects that we've spent like a whole summer working on. Yeah, I completely agree. Definitely just a passion. Like, at least when we were starting out, we didn't have all the equipment. We didn't have like really good cameras, and we didn't have great microphones. Matthew still doesn't have a great microphone.
First question, we go for about 45 minutes. So if any of you need to leave, you can leave, just let us know. But first question is, you said you did different kinds of films as far as, little small projects and big projects. So are you just shooting like with a phone with the smaller projects, and are you shooting with a DSLR or professional camera with the larger projects? What film cameras are you using? Anybody can answer. Matthew? Sure.
Shall I answer that one? I guess I'm cameraman. So the very early projects were, contrary to popular belief, we've never filmed with a phone. A lot of people comment on them saying like, was this filmed with a phone? Or when they try to criticize it, like, you need to get yourself a camera. We have always used the camera. The very early films were the DSLR. I can't pronounce it. And then eventually I started lending Panasonic cameras. I don't know the exact brand name, but quite valuable ones, quite good ones from my college. So ever since we've been using them, so the technology has definitely improved a lot since.
Yeah. Are you using just local actors? Are you using actors from a theater? Or do you put out ads? Is it from a school? Where are you finding your actors? Or are they all your friends?
Most of them are our friends. So we just, when we're writing a script, we might think, this person, I can imagine them playing this character, even if they've never acted before. We will invite them onto the set and like they can act, and basically a lot of the time they're just playing themselves. So in our next film, which is Shopping Bag Number 3, Matthew's friend from college called Jag, he's never acted before, but Matthew said that he might be able to pull off this great role because he's really funny in real life. So we also put out adverts as well, so people can message us if they want to be involved, and we'll try and find out whenever we find a role that they can be a part of.
That's really cool.
A lot of the people. A lot of the people who we cast of it, they've all, a lot of them were in the Messes on the Plaza projects that we did, the Plaza Community Cinema that we all three of us mess on. So sort of, it's quite nice because there's people who've been there from the very beginning and been a consistent factor in the film. So it's quite a nice
cool
thing.
Yeah. I love that you guys are doing that because a couple of my first short films, out of necessity, I had to use non-actors. And some of the non-actors were better than the actors. You know what I mean? Not that we're like judging everybody, but I was like, wow, this woman's never acted before in her life and she's amazing. So it just kind of depends. And you can also get a serious dud who just, takes up the screen. Okay, so let's talk about a film. Let's start with Blackbird. This was kind of fun. It was kind of 80s. The guy with the mohawk, I didn't really get what was going on because I didn't watch every second. I kind of skimmed through it. But tell us about Blackbird. Was that your first big film, or what was it?
That was our most recent one.
Okay.
It was that was made I started writing. I had this idea in sort of late December that I wanted to make an 80s film. I don't know how much in the US you know about Margaret Thatcher, who was prime minister here during the 80s, but it was a very controversial government, a lot of poverty, a lot of social injustice, a lot of police brutality. And so I was studying, like her premiership, her government in history class in college. And I just thought, isn't this a great context for like a character study, like a taxi driver, Joker sort of thriller? And so I started writing it, and it wasn't working out. It was more like a social realist, Ken Loach type drama, and it just wasn't really fitting what I wanted. And then I was on this bus journey into Liverpool city centre, going past all these rundown streets, like these grimy areas where we ended up actually shooting the film. And all these lines just kept popping into my head. I just went home and just basically wrote it. We started filming 2 weeks after that.
Very cool. And Conor, were you in this one?
I was I got a wedgie in the start of it.
So. You got a wedgie in the start. Oh, so did you have to? Was that like method acting?
It was method acting. Yeah, unfortunately.
I think your friend really wanted to give you one, so we just wrote it to the script.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I accept no criminal responsibility for it. He consented. We gave him a wedgie. It's in the film. The real take you see, he's actually screaming from a wedgie. So sometimes I watch that back just to laugh at it.
You guys are all really. Just tell me, how old are you guys? Are you like 25, 30?
I'm 21.
Okay.
I'm 18.
18?
I'm 17.
17? Wow. And you're making all these films. So let's talk about another movie in a second, but your Instagram is huge. You've got, I mean, you're not Kylie Jenner, but you've got like 5,000 people on there. That's a lot of people. How did you grow it so quickly?
It really took off. I have a lot of people who are doing the same thing as us, but at a lower level. That sounds so snobby. You know what I mean? Like, haven't really got the same traction as we have. They come and they ask, like, how have you got so big? And I kind of think, I don't really know, because I think we have we try to set up like a sort of brand. So the Instagram has the same sort of humor. It's like this very self-deprecating self-awareness. So I think, for example, we've just done an audio commentary for our film Noel. I was promoting that on the Instagram today. I was saying, if you want to see us ramble about irrelevant stuff for 20 minutes, it kind of just, I feel like we want it to be quite informal. It's the informalness, and it's we post very frequently. We know lots of people. We're good at networking. We collaborate with a lot of, we say like we'll get musicians to do a song for our film, and then they'll share it to their like followers. And we've just built up very gradually. There was never really a point where I woke up and we had 5,000. It's just been gradually going, and hopefully we'll expand.
Very cool. And John, I didn't ask you, what did you do for Blackbird?
So I played a policeman, so that was very fun. I didn't have to talk. I just had to, these sort of like 1910s and like 1900s films where there'd be like these black and white policemen and they just like run around.
Yeah,
fun.
like the Keystone Cops. Yeah.
Yeah, the Keystone Cops. It was kind of like a parody of that, but bringing it into real life just to show how bizarre the institution of the police was, and this was way before the events of America right now. So I don't know. I think you can take a lot of it.
Now, yeah, it's very cool. So I'm just sitting here watching the three of you guys. You're all very funny. Like, you just have a funny thing about you. So I think it would be great for you to do like a behind the scenes of you making the movies and yelling at each other and being like, dude, we're going to give you a wedgie. All right, let's do a wedgie. All right, let me go get a pair of underwear that I don't really care about before we do the wedgie. I don't want to use my good underwear.
It was his mom's knickers.
Oh, it was his mom's. Nice. He probably doesn't want to tell the world that. Okay, people in India, he's wearing his mom's knickers.
I want to embarrass him as much as possible. We ripped it so hard that it physically ripped, and someone just one of like the actors or something just shoved it in a public bin. And I was thinking, what's people going to do when they walk past and see them in the bin?
That's
Conor
awesome.
didn't even tell his mum. He just stole them from the washing machine apparently, and then.
Oh my God. So what do you guys think? I mean, I'm going off on tangents here. We'll get back to your movies, but what do you guys think of Ricky Gervais? Is he a hero or is he is he crap? Do you like him?
I think a hero.
Yeah.
Hero.
I mean, Afterlife.
Yeah.
Afterlife is amazing. I watched the original Office, so much better than the American Office. And Afterlife is huge. And now people are watching Derek. I mean, and I love his Golden Globe stuff. It's just absolutely hilarious. I mean, when he rips apart the celebrities. But he's popular there in Liverpool. People love him.
Very, yeah. Me and John actually went to go and see him do stand-up live a few years back. He came to Liverpool. It was hilarious. I think he's an influence on our work. Like, we've all probably seen everything he's done, and just it's kind of like that sarcastic, like self-deprecating humor we use quite a lot.
Yeah, he's so self-deprecating. And what about like Benny Hill and Monty Python? I know I'm doing all English stuff, but
definitely Python.
Definitely Python.
Definitely.
And do you have influences in the U.S.? Is it like Jonah Hill or someone like, who do you like in the U.S. that is funny? Filmmaker. Seth Rogen. Mel Brooks. Okay.
The Coen brothers.
Yeah.
Woody Allen.
Yeah. Scorsese.
Okay.
A lot of massive.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love all those guys. Oh my God, Woody Allen is so hilarious. Mel Brooks. So I don't know if you've seen the show, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Jerry Seinfeld went to Mel Brooks's house, and he's sitting. I forget the guy's name. Oh, I want to say Carl Reiner. So Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks, two comedy legends, are sitting in Carl Reiner's living room eating pastrami sandwiches. They're like 80 years old, and they have TV trays. And Jerry goes in there and he's like, I'm in the middle of greatness. And Mel Brooks was telling all these stories about how he just grabbed his friend who was a dentist and put him in Blazing Saddles, and grabbed his brother-in-law because nobody else showed up that day for Spaceballs or whatever. And it's a similar kind of thing, man. It's just, you kind of hit this thing at one point in your life and you become huge like Ricky or like Mel, and you just keep making stuff till that happens. And sometimes it never happens, but these guys are doing the same stuff that you're doing. They just were in the right place at the right time. So let me just see what else here. Let's go to Life and Lyrics. You want to talk about this, Matt? We'll start with Matt and go around.
Yeah, so we'll start with how it came about. So I actually made this for a college project. It was, I'm a massive music fan, but I can't play any instruments myself. I can't sing. I can't really do anything musical. So how do I kind of honor my interest in music without doing music? It's make a film about music. And thankfully I know musicians. That's how that came about. It was for a college project. It needed to be a film that shows the character development of a single person. It was about this musician, Molly Raines, which is kind of based off myself. You'll notice Molly Raines sounds similar to Matthew Reynolds. She represents myself in a lot of ways, and it's really her developing from this really like shy little girl, basically, and then she goes through a breakup and gets much stronger and wants to put her work out there. I think a few of the bits of the dialogue were based off things that were said to me in real life. Her putting her music out there represents me putting my films out there and like taking hate for it. It was quite a personal film, and I think it's not been as successful as our other projects, but I very much like to talk about it because it's one of our favorites.
Very cool. And Conor, you were in that, obviously.
I was, I played, Sean Raines, the brother character.
Okay, so was he the boyfriend of the main character?
Oh, the brother.
The brother, okay.
Yeah, the older brother. I think in the film he was a failed rap artist.
Okay, and there was one scene where you were talking in a very bizarre way, and you were like, and I was like, what is he doing there? I didn't really understand what was going on, but it was kind of funny. What were you making fun of someone in the film, or?
No, it was quite a serious role. I think the character is obviously, I think, I based in performance on several people I know, but
okay.
the characters have Asperger's syndrome, and sort of like embodied like the security of that condition, and
cool. Yeah, I like that one. And in the end, she kind of becomes popular, and her billboards in some square, like a Times Square type of place or something, and. How does she feel? I don't really understand how she feels about that. She looks like she's not happy about that.
She's quite happy about it. She is? I think what she's most happy about is the personal relief of it, because I think my favorite bit in the film is when her ex-girlfriend is walking through the city centre and she looks up and she sees Molly Raines on a billboard, and she's like, damn. So I think it shows that like when people try to put you down, you can always rise up to it and you can achieve it in the future. And then the people who put you down in the past will then see your success and be like, oh, I shouldn't have been so horrible to them. That was kind of the idea.
Right. And John, what did you do for that film?
So I was the kind of mentor character for her. I'm the guy that is already like an established musician, and he goes and tries to find a support act, and he comes across Molly, and I think that was kind of about like you were saying before about being in the right place at the right time. You might have the talent, but you might not necessarily be discovered, or you might not necessarily know someone who knows someone, because this industry, well, all the entertainment industry is about who you know rather than what you know. So I think it's about those kind of like chance encounters of like finding someone who can help you, not do all the work for you, but it can like help you achieve greatness that way.
Right. So let me tell you a story that will be, I think, very interesting to all you guys. So I have this friend, Jim Issa, and he's a director, and he's directed commercials, and he's actually directed a film with this actor, Luke Perry, who you might know from 90210, who recently passed away. And he directed some Lifetime movie. He directed a few features, and he raised the money for features. And he was telling me how to do that when I interviewed him. So on the Lights Camera Pro podcast, if you want to check it out, Jim Issa talks about directing in general and how he went from a commercial director to a film director, but he also talks about raising money. And he tells this story where he's friends with this actor, Tony Shalhoub, who was on Monk, the show Monk. I don't know if you remember that show, but it was a show in America on USA for many years, very popular. And him and Tony and their wives went out to dinner with these two people that had a lot of money and were looking for a film to invest in. And this is how this is why I want to tell you, because this is how it happens if you ever do it someday. So they listened to his pitch. They were asking them for money, saying, listen, what do you think? Do you want to support this film? Do you want to give us $100,000 or $500,000, whatever it was? It was a lot of money. They went to a fancy restaurant. And the guy was like, I don't know. It's kind of like a love story. We're looking for more like action. And Tony had tickets to the Oscars because he went every year and he was part of the guild or Actors Guild or whatever. And basically Jim had cleared this with Tony, and he said, do you want tickets to the Oscars? And the guy was like, yeah, that would be great. And the guy gave him the money for the film. So he had access to something that guy's never going to do. He's never going to go to the Oscars. He was a doctor, or dentist, or lawyer or something. And he got the money to make his film. And on top of that, I talked to an art director who's worked on the new Christopher Nolan movie Tenet. He's worked on the new Rock movie, this DC superhero movie called Black Adam. He's a big art director in Hollywood, but he also makes short films. And his name is Justin O'Neill Miller. And you can go and listen to his podcast, but also go to his website. He has a very, very crisp and clean short film. I forget the name of it, about a woman having a birthday party at her house and everything has to be perfect. But he was talking about working on all these huge movies, but he wants to make short films also, right? But he also wants to make a feature film someday. So that's it. That's all there is to it. You know what I mean? Like, I spent my whole life making short films, making plays, never, got written up in some New York newspaper or went to some film festival or whatever, but it didn't click to the next level because I didn't have those connections. And once you have those connections, or you just somehow get to that place, somebody can tell you how to do it and you can make a feature, which is, I'm sure that's what you guys want to do someday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Super cool. So let's talk about the last one here. Shopping bags to back in business, where Conor gets choked by John in a blonde wig.
It's not what it sounds like.
And Conor kicks John in the balls.
Conor gets kicked in the what?
Conor kicks John in the balls and he falls over a hedge.
Do you want to talk about this one,
many
Conor?
other things, I think Conor's most qualified.
Yeah. I think that of our films, this is like the third film we've done together at that point, was it? Yeah, I think. And I think it's also
Fourth,
fourth, third or fourth. I think it's the first time where we looked at it and thought, this is happy with the entire product. I think we got a lot of the technical aspects nailed down on that one. I think it's definitely we developed our style a bit and our working relationship definitely in that film. I think that was the first one where everyone clicked together. We were all on the same page and whatnot. I it's very influenced by, you can see the obvious influence. There's a bit of Scorsese in there with the camera style, etc. There's definitely a lot of Python in it. I think me and John gave some our best comedic performances in that film. And it was very enjoyable to make. It was the first time I'd thoroughly, properly enjoyed every minute. Because on any film set, there's always slow moments. There's always moments where you're going to rip your hair out or you want to kill someone or whatever. But I think
we get stuck in quicksand.
Yeah.
Like illegal beer.
Yeah, I'm like an Ed Wood director. I'm just like, okay, 2 takes, let's move on. Filmmaking process to me is so slow. It takes forever and people want to do so many takes. And I'm like, guys, 12 takes. I think you got it.
My actors wish I only did 2 takes.
Your actors do, don't they?
Yeah. I think on another film, though, on a side note, I think I did like 40 odd takes for one line because I couldn't get the delivery right.
What was the line, Conor?
That was more your fault, not mine.
Yeah. I can't remember what the line was, to be honest.
I think it was "Hope you have a great Christmas," and it took you 40 takes.
Took me 40 odd takes. Yeah.
Oh my God, Conor! I've heard that Oliver Stone does 60 to 100 takes of every scene. Oliver Stone, the filmmaker, is crazy.
Yeah, I'm not that bad, Conor.
No.
So
even then, it's an anomaly. I think usually Matthew, you do a few, but you don't overdo it.
Yeah, it's only like 3 to 5 usually. Yeah. I think as an actor, I think I enjoy it most, and I give me best performances usually 90% of the time when it's more spontaneous, because I tend to, as it goes on, I don't know about you, John, if you've acted in some of the films, it's as you go through the takes, it gets a bit monotonous and you just do the same thing again. So I think I'm a lot better and more skilled on the first shoot because it feels more spontaneous.
Very cool. I like a lot of the shots in a lot of the films. There's some really wide shots with silhouettes. There's some really nice shots in many of your films. But as far as on your Instagram page, there was one of the posts had the guy from the IT crowd. I forget his name, the actor. Those guys
Richard Awadi.
Yeah. So Richard Awadi, I worked for Cartoon Network for a while, and I worked on Apple and Onion, and it's like a cartoon with Richard. And every day I heard his voice, and I could only think of the IT crowd thing. But why was he on your Instagram page? Was that just a meme or something?
That was an idea that I came up with because we like to sort of be very self-aware and post memes and stuff. And we were sort of like teasing about our new film. And for some reason I was thinking about the IT crowd, and then the scene where they go to see the gay musical, and he says, it's described to him. Yeah, it's described to him, and then he goes, "Oh no, it's set in the 80s," because you think he'd complain about the contents of it. So I thought maybe we could tease our new film by showing that bit. I thought that'd be quite funny.
Yeah. Okay, so we're drifting again, but IT crowd, best episode, the one where they're stuck in the bar and the guy gets he's like in a wheelchair and he's going away at the end. That episode, I laughed the entire time, like the whole episode, every minute. It was absolutely hilarious. Do you guys have a favorite episode? I'm disabled.
Probably that one. That is the musical one, I think, isn't it?
The musical one's hilarious too.
Yeah, mine too.
I like the one where they rob a DVD from the shop, where they bunk off work, and then they end up, there's a bomb threat outside.
Yeah. I remember that one. I don't know why that guy isn't like the biggest actor in the world. He is so, and the other guy's funny too. The big white guy's funny, but he is so funny. My God. Like he just says some stupid stuff and I just laugh for 10 minutes.
I love, what's his name there? Matt Berry. He plays Douglas. Yeah. I think he's probably the best.
So the greatest film of all time. That's my little intro for the big question before we go to advice at the end. Let's start with Conor. What's the greatest film of all time, man?
But I would probably have to say the original Planet of the Apes, I would say.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's, for its time, a lot of the effects and just the filmmaking on display, I think, is very impressive. And especially for its time, that it's, it was 68, so it was just in the cusp of the civil rights movement. I think its message is very, very forward thinking and very, it's very advanced for its time in what it was talking about. Yeah. And also, it's just a very fun film as just an enjoyable spectacle.
Yeah, I love it. Love that movie.
Yeah.
Matthew?
I think the greatest film of all time is Goodfellas, because I think people forget that when people say the greatest film of all time, it might not necessarily be their favorite. It's just one that's done technically perfect. But Goodfellas is my favorite. I think people forget that it needs to be really enjoyable as well to be the greatest film. Because I enjoy Goodfellas so much, and it's so technically well made. That would be my favorite.
Yeah, I love that shot where they go into the restaurant. Just one shot.
Oh yes, amazing.
It's on a Steadicam. John?
Probably a controversial choice, but I would say Fight Club, just because the amount of times that you can watch it over and over again and pick out a completely different meaning every time. I think the performances are great. I think the writing is so funny as well, and there's so much that you can relate to the modern day as well. I think it's really great.
Very cool. Well, I won't bore you with all my answers. I just have several, but Streetcar Named Desire comes to mind with Marlon Brando and Vivian Leigh.
Stella
is one of my favorite films of all time. But like Star Wars, Rocky, Jaws, these big blockbuster movies really influenced me, and The Matrix just knocked my mind out of its shoes. Like that just blew my mind. I was like, what? This could be real. Yeah, so many movies like that. But let's wrap it up, guys, because I know you got movies to make.
Not in lockdown, sadly.
Yeah. If you could talk about advice you would give to young filmmakers. I know you're all super young and you're just getting started and you made a bunch of stuff, but let's just go Conor, John, Matthew, and advice to young actors, in your case, John, and whatever, in your case, Conor, and then Matthew, filmmakers, even though, let's start with Conor. What's your advice to young actors?
I would say, obviously, be natural, don't force yourself, and always be aware of your ability. I'd like to think I'm a decent actor, but I'm not the greatest of all time. So don't allow ego to get in the way of it. And I think a lot of your performances can, really benefit that. You just want to be yourself, but you've got to be humble about it. And as well, I think a benefit I have is obviously make your own material and be involved with people are going to cast you, get you out there essentially. Because I'd say I've done a bit of acting, but none of it was really anything major. And then obviously I'm aware our films aren't major, but compared to what I've done, it's in a few plays, etc. Before some guys with the camera, I think definitely because I'm producing some of my own material and I have a lot of control. I can write a lot of the roles for stuff I want to do as an actor, and then have influence over that. So I think definitely make your own stuff and be humble about it. That's my thing.
Very cool. And John?
I think you've got to absolutely love every single role that you play, even if it's a really small role. Like in Blackbird, I was only like a minor character, but I really love playing that policeman. You've got to create a story for them in your head, make up things that aren't actually in the script or anything. So imagine what they'd have for breakfast and what they do in their spare time, what they think about certain issues, and then I think that brings them more to life, and that really helps me because I feel like I wouldn't say that I become the character, but you really feel like you're portraying someone who's real if you keep doing all that extra little research.
Very cool. Let me just chime in here, Matthew, real quick, because Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite directors. He does this thing that I don't know if you know, John, where if he's in a hospital, he dresses up as a doctor. And if he's on a ranch, he dresses up as a cowboy because he wants to be right by the camera and he wants the actor to stay in that world and doesn't want to knock him out of that world. So that's just like a cool little tidbit about Tarantino. Matthew, what's your advice?
I would say as a filmmaker to just get yourself out there and don't be afraid of what other people think. I've got my films out there. I knew my first few weren't going to be very good, and maybe my current ones aren't even that good either. But you've just got to keep going, because the amount we've improved is very significant since the very start. And you will get abuse, you will get people not being nice, but you will also get people being lovely, and you'll make like lifelong friends as well. So to sum it up, just get yourself out there, produce as much as possible, and yeah, just do it. I know it's a cliche, but like, just make films and you're a filmmaker, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same thing with podcasting or video editing or anything like that. And I would just say, this has been great, guys. I totally appreciate it. Thanks so much. Just so you know, like, doing stuff like this also helps you, because I'm on your side, guys. I'm rooting for you. I want you to make more films, and I want you to make bigger films, and I'll be watching you from Atlanta, to see what you do on your YouTube channel and all that stuff. I think you guys are great guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And
thanks very much for having us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, guys, you have a great rest of your night.
Thanks for listening to the Lights Camera Pro podcast, where entertainment pros talk about how they made their dream into a career.
Go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and subscribe, rate, and review. Thanks to Bob Juergens for the Rockin' VO and Joseph McDade for the music. Next week, we have a very special guest. It is the Mommy a Yo-Yo podcast, and she has lots of stories about being a mom, and she is so much fun to talk to. I had a great time interviewing her. Tune in next week.